Hi there, welcome to another episode. My name is Christian Eschbeck, and this is my album review show. Today we will be covering Metallica's S&M. The reason why I selected S&M is I actually wanted to do a brand new album that had just come out in 2020, and it was going to be Metallica's S&M too. But as I haven't done a review for S&M yet, I figured let's put the horse before the cart. Let's do the original before we do the sequel. No one wants to read a review for Empire until they've read the review for, A New Hope, because, that just lost my mind. So anyways, Metallica's S&M. If you don't know the album, surprisingly, brief history, Metallica decided team up with the San Francisco Symphony Orchestra, hence the San Francisco is the S and the M is Metallica, S&M. As much as everybody wants to think it's a cute little play, it is a cute little play, but it's not that type of cute little play. But anyways, I'm rambling. So, Metallica teams up with the San Francisco Symphony Orchestra. They also team up with Michael Kamen. This album was originally released in 1999. I actually had it in my grubby little paws before the official release due to having friends in right places back in a time where, it didn't scan the CD right away and say, hey, you just sold it. You could play with the machine a little bit to pre-sell. Anyways, that's my little story to go with this. I love this album. The idea that Metallica teamed up with the symphony right from the beginning intrigued me. I thought it was a fantastic idea. The song selection was a bit surprising, though, because there's some songs I just didn't feel were going to be suited for this, and there's other songs that I really wish they would have done instead, but neither here nor there. Because this album is from '99, the band is comprised of James Hetfield and Lars Ulrich, because you always have to have those two. Kirk Hammett, because you have to have Kirk Hammett. It's not Metallica without Kirk either, I don't care what anybody says. And this had Jason Newsted on the bass at the time. Jason Newsted, unfortunately, no longer with the band, was replaced with Rob Trujillo not long after this. If I remember correctly, actually, I believe S&M was one of the very last concerts that Jason Newsted played with the band as an active member of the band, not including like appearances on shows or crap like that. But let's dig into the album. First off, it's a live album. There was no, let's go play with this in the studio crap. No, this album was recorded live. As far as I know, no overdubs, no nothing like that. 100% pure. I have to mention that because there are a lot of live albums out there. I'm not going to mention Gene Simmons and Kiss Alive, where they use a lot of overdubs. But this album, as far as I know of, does not have a lot of overdubs. Anyways, going into the album starts off with The Ecstasy of Gold. If you are any type of Metallica fan, if you've been to a single Metallica concert, you have heard this song. They usually play it from tape over top for everybody to come out. The song's from The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. It was the theme right at the end of the movie. Big climactic scene. It's really easy to understand why Metallica would want to come out to this song. It's brilliant, great idea. Kudos on them for doing it. But to have the orchestra actually play it live this time while they come out, that's a rarity, obviously. There's never an orchestra to actually play them live. So, here they are. Pardon my scratch. Here they are live, and they're going to come busting out to the song. And that's exactly what they do. It's Ecstasy of Gold. But then they don't come busting out. I shouldn't say it that way. It makes it sound like they come out flying out of the gates hard. They don't. They come out with the Call of Cthulhu instrumental piece. This is the piece you want to hear them start out and come out with. I wish they would have done more of the Metallica instrumental pieces on here. This is the only one they did. That is a little heartbreaking, but I'll live with it. It's okay. It's cool. Call of Cthulhu, everybody has their favorite instrumental piece. Mine happens to be Orion. It's not Call of Cthulhu, but I don't care. Call of Cthulhu is still great. You mix the orchestra in it, it sounds fantastic. It sounds so pretty, and there's just so much more extra depth to it. Fantastic song. I mean, if you know the original, you know how beautiful of a instrumental piece it is to start with, and then you put an orchestra over top of it with all the extra strings. You get some bells going in there. They got the flutes and the rest of the woodwinds in that, but for this song, they're not as much of a real part. You know what I'm saying? And next after that is Master of Puppets. Master of Puppets is a great song. They even do the full-length version of Master of Puppets, so they can do the full arrangement on it, not just the quick condensed version where they cut out the nice interlude in the middle and stuff like that. So it was really cool to hear them do this song. It's a Metallica staple. They would have to do Master of Puppets, and they have to do an arrangement for it. There would be no way to get around not doing it, especially for the very first time with this band playing this song with an orchestra live, right? After that, we move on to Of Wolf and Man. I love Of Wolf and Man. I hate the Black Album. I am not a fan of the Black Album. I consider it one of Metallica's worst albums. I have an on-running joke that I listen to Lulu more often than I listen to the Black Album. Probably not entirely true, but I like to say it. Of Wolf and Man is from the back half of the Black Album, though, and the back half of the Black Album is where most of the best of the Black Album is, with the exception of Nothing Else Matters. If they move Nothing Else Matters up to the front, but Unforgiven in the back half would be the only part of the album I would ever listen to. But Of Wolf and Man, fantastic song. Doing it with the orchestra was a good choice as well. It gave it a really nice, cool vibe, a really cool sound. It lended really easily to an orchestra. It sounds fantastic with an orchestra. I can't really throw much extra on top of that because that's what it is, right? After that, you get to The Thing That Should Not Be. One of my all-time favorite Metallica songs. Whenever you hear them live, they always talk about how Sad But True is heavy. I don't know what their demon is heavy, but The Thing That Should Not Be has got to be one of the heaviest songs in their repertoire. Especially when you hear it on the newer recordings where you're able to boost up the low end more and give it more low end. This is with Jason Newsted. And one thing Jason Newsted really did was bring a heavy low end into the band. Some people might argue that his style playing kind of diminished the songs from the original. I don't think so. I think he added to them live with the Cliff songs. Now, obviously, we don't have a good comparison of Cliff Burton playing any of these songs live because all of his recordings were recorded before Metallica had their huge fame. So the low end is always crap on the recordings. I'm sorry it is. I'm really sorry it is because I'd rather hear Cliff in pristine beauty. But The Thing That Should Not Be, they get in there, they rip it up, it gets deep and dark and heavy, and the way it's orchestrated is just wonderful. Michael Kamen and his arrangements, some of them, they're not great. Some of them hit perfectly. Michael Kamen, I think, picked songs that he knew how to work with, or songs that he had ideas already how to work with. I know there was supposed to be discussion between him and the band between it, but I really do think because of the way the orchestrations were done and whatnot, there were certain special things that he heard in certain songs that he wanted to portray. And sometimes it really hit well. Thing That Should Not Be, I thought hit well. Sometimes it hits bad, and I'll get to that afterwards. Next up is Fuel. Honestly, I think Fuel was only put on here to go with the next song because at the time they like to play the two of them back to back all the time. I like when they play them back to back. That's Fuel, and then goes into Memory Remains. Memory Remains makes sense. It's the type of song that lent to this album really well. Fuel didn't lend to this album so well. It works. They pull it off. It sounds great. But I think Fuel was put there specifically so it would lead into Memory Remains, which, of the two songs, Memory Remains is definitely the better. And I love Memory Remains live. It's fun on the Reload album. Sorry. Great song on the Reload album. But when it comes to hearing the song live, it should be a live staple. If it isn't automatically a live staple, it should be a live staple because the audience just gets so into the song, especially the chanting at the end. The da 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 da. You know, when they get into that part, it's just the whole crowd gets going and the chanting and everything like that. And then when you get the orchestra on this version, it sounds absolutely magical. Like purposely, you can hear the orchestration was done to make the song sound magical. It's fantastic. It's wonderful. Absolutely love it. That then goes into the first of two brand new songs they put on S&M. And when I say brand new songs, I mean songs that, you know, apparently had been left over from the load reload sessions. And when they went to go do the orchestrations, they're like, you know, we really should bust out something new to make it really, really worthwhile. So they busted out two new songs. The first one was Note Leaf Clover. Note Leaf Clover actually does come in and out of their set lists over the years. It's a good song. I don't mind it. It was not my favorite of the two songs on here, though, of the new songs. I actually prefer the other song better. But this is a really good song. It's really enjoyable, and for a brand new song that had never been released, it was a good single as well. You know, I'm really glad they went with it. After that, they go into Hero of the Day. Hero of the Day, at the time, I understand why. This was, you know, 99, so you're fresh off a load and reload. The only other option you had for other material in there, for newer material, would have been Garage Inc. I would have left Hero of the Day off of here. They already had a lot of load going. I would have maybe used one of the other older songs instead. Was not my first choice. I kind of wish they would have skipped that one. Next up is Devil's Dance. I love Devil's Dance. Another song off of Reload. I will be completely honest with people out there. If you ask me what my favorite Metallica album is, it's either Kill 'Em All or it's Reload. Two kind of extremes, I get it. If you actually listen to the two albums, while they may sound like extremes, they're really not. I really dig the production on Reload and whatnot. I think it was fantastic. I think it catches way too much crap. It was never an alternative album. It was a heavy album. It may not have been a traditional metal album, but it definitely was a classic metal album. So all the Reload songs I'm happy to see on here. I'm not so big on the Load songs. Devil's Dance, fantastic track to put in here. The orchestra, I felt, didn't have a whole lot to do on this song. This is one of those ones where I think the orchestration was kept a little more simple, and it was more Metallica push for this song, and came in, did what he could do with it. You know, he did the best that he could. And then from there, it goes into Bleeding Me. Bleeding Me was a fantastic choice for this live set. It's the right song. It was orchestrated perfectly. It also closes off the first half of the set. Now, when you usually go to a classical show, usually they have an intermission in the middle. When I say classical, I mean an orchestrated concert. Usually they do an intermission in the middle for people to get up and stretch and stuff like that, because it's not like a concert where you're up and you're moving and you're stretching and you're dancing and you're partying and you're having a good time in your little seated area, or if you're in the standing floor, you know, you got a whole standing floor to mosh in or whatnot, right? Can't do that here. So, with the symphony, they have to take an intermission and go and take a break. Well, they use Bleeding Me to lead up in that intermission. And Bleeding Me is one of the songs that definitely lends to the symphony. It really was able to be orchestrated properly. It's a beautiful, beautiful song. I really love the way they did it. It's totally worth listening to. I mean, if you haven't heard this version before, you can go to YouTube it somewhere. It's great. Go with it. Then from there, we after our intermission, we come back and we do the second album. The second album starts off with the song from Metallica I loathe the absolute most. Nothing Else Matters. It is a staple for live shows. I really wish it wasn't. I'd much rather Unforgiven was here instead. Oh my god. First off, we could have had a live horn at the beginning of it to start it off, but no, we get Nothing Else Matters, which is here for one reason only, okay? Michael Kamen actually did the string arrangements for the song on the Black Album. It was a cheap, easy song to do. Plus, you know, it was kind of an homage to their first collaboration, so I'll excuse it for that point. But I really, really do not like this song, and I really, really would rather have it not been on here. From there, we're going to move on to Until It Sleeps. I liked Until It Sleeps. I liked it Until It Sleeps when it came out on the Load album. I liked the just something about the song. There's just something about it. I think it's a very nice, solid, strong song. It works really well with the orchestra as well. It was fantastic with the orchestra. I really immensely enjoyed it. They should have started off the second set with Until It Sleeps instead of starting off with Nothing Else Matters. Nothing Else Matters really should have just been thrown in there somewhere. Or they threw it in right at the beginning of the second set to get it done and out of the way. That's a possibility as well. I would imagine some of the guys in the band are really tired of playing it at this point. So really, guys, you have my permission. Stop playing the damn song live. No one wants to hear it anymore. You have so many other songs that could be played in that spot instead. Anyways, Until It Sleeps, like I said, great song. They should have started the second set with that. For Whom the Bell Tolls. Honestly, I think this was the song that really got me into Metallica. The first time I heard it played live with Jason Newsted, I fell in love with the song. I hadn't known much about Metallica prior to that. A little bit, but not a lot. Not enough that I was really into them yet. Heard that song, fell in love right away. To hear it done with the orchestra, I hate to say it, but with everything they had there with the orchestra, they really could have got a bell to put in there. But it was great. It really was. It was fantastic. I absolutely love For Whom the Bell Tolls. The orchestration version, it doesn't matter if it's orchestrated or not, really. That song is about the band. It's not about the orchestra at all. Going from there, we go into the second new song. I actually preferred Minus Human of the two songs when they came out. Minus Human is a fantastic new song. I really wish it got played in live sets. I'm one of the few people, though, that I know of that really like the song. Most people, I don't know why, prefer No Leaf Clover. I'm sure there's a good reason for it, but, you know, whatever. But Minus Human, great song. I'd recommend it to anybody. If you haven't heard it before, go take a listen to it. It's really, really good. Really great to listen to. Moving on from there, we have Wherever I May Roam. After this album came out, I will never, ever, ever listen to the original version. The radio should never, ever, ever play the original version again. They should only ever play the orchestrated version. This song, of all the songs that were orchestrated, was probably one of the best orchestrated songs. It was fantastic. Absolutely love it. It's just a mesmerizing song. The orchestra lends to it perfectly. And when I say lends to it, I mean they add to it. It's, you know, you take a great song already and then you take it. Imagine a recipe. You take your mom's favorite recipe and then you take it to Gordon Ramsay and say, Gordon, I really like this recipe, but there's something missing. And then Gordon says, oh, it's this. Well, that's what was missing from Wherever I May Roam. It's the symphony, and now it has the symphony. It's fantastic. Beautiful. One of my absolute favorite tracks out of the whole entire thing. Which leads into one of my all-time favorite Metallica songs altogether, Outlaw Torn. Not a song they do live often. Very complicated, and as I understand, it's very difficult to try and do live because the way the guitars are done and stuff like that in the studio. It's a studio song. It's an album song. It's a song they don't do live often enough. Need to do live more often. I absolutely love this song. I love it with the orchestra. It is amazing. And the fact that they do, I don't want to say they do the extended version that's only available on singles, or if you can find it somewhere as a specialty download or something like that. But there is an unencumbered by manufacturer restrictions mix, which actually runs over 10 minutes. This song does not run over 10 minutes, but it does run longer than the original, and I believe they did a little bit more of the jam at the end, and they gave it what would be a proper exit to the song, as opposed to the original album version, which just kind of fades out, because it does go to this killer long jam that extends for an extra minute. If you can find the single version, which I have because I bought it when it first came out. Because I am a Metallica fan. Moving on from there, Metallica's Sabotru. Yet another Black Album song I think is so highly overrated. I know there are people that love Sabotru. I understand why people love Sabotru. I think it's an overrated song. I really think it is. I don't particularly care for it. If it comes on the radio, I skip it. And I don't listen to it on S&M either. The orchestra doesn't do anything to make me like it more. It doesn't do anything to add to it. Doesn't do anything to push it forward. Doesn't do anything to boost it up, make me like the song any better. It's just a song that I always skip, and I still tend to skip. That goes into one. One is a great choice to pick to put on here. Beautiful song, lends well to orchestration. It was already a song that had a brilliant narrative already. Listening to the orchestra when they get into the heavy-duty rapid-fire part, that's actually the more impressive part than when they're doing the intro to it, when they're playing along, doing their little swells and their build-ups during the pyrotechnic explosions at the beginning, which really add to it as well. You know, when you go see Metallica live, all you get is boom, ba 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 boom, ba 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 ba. But this one, well, the boom, ba 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 ba, you're you know, sorry, I'm not a violin, folks. As you can hear, I'm a little bit stuffed up at the moment. Allergies are really bad right now. So, you know, they've got these swells and this buildup going during all this, you know, the booms and the explosions, something you don't normally get. So right there, you've already got something better than what's on you normally get live. You get something extra, something worthwhile, and you know, from there it gets better and better. And when the band actually kicks in, it all blends in together, and it's just beautiful, beautiful song. Next song. Oh, you want to talk about overplayed songs. Now, I know why it's overplayed. It's the song that really, honestly, as much as one made Metallica like a household name thanks to the original music video, Enter Sandman made Metallica gods. I hate to say it. I'm Black Album. It's the song that made Metallica from the Black Album. You have to play it live. You've got no choice. When they play it live, you can tell that there's a reason why they blew up the stage when they play it live. And yes, they have. That's not a joke. You got to do that with this song because this song is just beautiful. It really is. I don't like the song, but I like the song live because it's just so much energy. It just gets you so pumped. It gets you going. I probably would have left it off with the orchestra. I would have found something else to put in there instead, but go with it. It's not bad. It's not bad. But it's better than how they ended, because the very last song of the whole entire thing is Battery. There was no need to put Battery on this collection. There was no need to do Battery with the orchestra. I think Battery was done to try and prove a point, to try and... I don't know what they were going for putting Battery on here. I personally would have left it off. Not my first choice. But that's it, folks. This is Metallica's S&M. If you are into metal, if you are into symphonic metal, because there is a lot of metal out there that does use symphonies, this is worth listening to. If you're a Metallica fan, it's worth listening to. If you're just discovering music, you want to hear something different, you want to hear a band push the envelope at the time, because in '99, there were not many bands that were brave enough to do this type of thing. So if you want to hear that, this is an album you want to go for. You want to get S&M. If you didn't like Load, if you didn't like Reload, there's a lot of this on here. Might not be the album for you. Personally, myself, I was okay with how much they had on here for that. But anyways, I enjoy the album. I hope that if you pick up the album, you enjoy the album too. I do know that it is available to stream in various forms over the internet. Do not steal music, folks. I'm not going to preach about that. I'm not against that wholeheartedly. Do not illegally download music. Artists work their ass off for this. San Francisco Symphony had to be paid, okay? You know, they didn't volunteer to do this with Metallica. They had to be paid too. Michael Kamen had to be paid too. I'm sure he still gets some, his family still gets some type of stipend from this. The orchestra might even still get some type of stipend from this. I would hope so anyways. I'd like to believe that Metallica is at least fair that way. But anyways, now that I'm in the rambling point, I'm going to say thank you very much for watching this episode. Love you all, and as always, peace and take care.